Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we have updates to the cooldown manager. I'm pretty excited about this. One part in particular that I'm very excited about. So let's go through this post. It's kind of a longer post, might take a while to go through, but we'll hit everything. And I think the part that I'm most excited about is toward the end of this post. So advanced cooldown settings. One of the strongest pieces of feedback so just let's give a little recap. The cooldown manager, they added it in. It's very basic. I use it for, you can use it for like Blessing of Anchi if you're playing Herald of the Sun as Rep Paladin, for example. It's very good for that. It's very good for niche things, but it's far from perfect, right? A lot of people use a lot of add-ons in the game. I'm someone who doesn't use a lot of add-ons in the game. I use the minimum amount that I can, honestly. And so when they actually do something good like this improvement, it's very exciting for me. So this is getting an improvement, and it seems to be a pretty sizable improvement. Is it still going to be perfect? Probably not, but we're getting there. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback we've received around Cooldown Manager was that players want to customize their bars and frames to show only specific abilities or reorder them based on their preference. We're excited to share that we're adding the advanced cooldown settings for players who want to fine-tune and control what their cooldown manager displays. In addition, we're adding a lot more class and specialization abilities that players can opt into tracking. Here are some of the new settings you can modify, update your cooldown manager with. Pick and choose which spells and abilities you want to display or hide. Change the order that the abilities display the cooldown manager frames. Toggle whether mouse over tooltips and ability timers appear. Set whether abilities appear in the essentials or utility frame, and whether buffs appear as icons or bars. Some of these things are literally things that I suggested, so I love seeing some of these. Show unlearned abilities if the player hasn't selected the talent yet, and search for specific abilities. So this is all just huge quality of life. A lot of the stuff that I suggested as well. Drag and drop to reorder. So this is all very simple to use. This is like, it's almost like a different game in that WoW is not meant to be a drag and drop type game. So this is kind of cool. Reorder can be done inside its own group or between essential and utility groups. Reorder and cooldown will automatically redirect on the HUD heads up display. Show and learn. You can click a show and learn, and you can see talents that you don't have, so you can set those up as well, probably for when you do spec into those talents. And the bag, it's similar to the bag search. They just put it here, and it lights up the thing that you're searching for. That's good. New customized options. Players can track as many or few abilities as they like, which is great because one of my big things. So for one of the bars, we can pull it up quick, I guess. That's the best way to do this. Edit mode, maybe. Okay. So these bars, right? There's just, especially this one right here. There's way too many things on this bar that I don't need up here. I do not need, I don't need my interrupt because I already have that on my bar anyways. I don't need most of this stuff, honestly. But maybe it would be nice to have like Blessing of Sacrifice, something I don't use a ton. That would be nice to maybe see the cooldown of that up there. And there's just way too much stuff, right? And then I mentioned earlier the Blessing of Anchi thing. This is actually really good already. So I expect this will be even better. So let's go back to the article just to show you like how much stuff can be on there and you don't really need it. You can see Unholy Death Knight with the default cooldown manager settings, an example displaying some of the additional upcoming tracking options for abilities. So this is like the default for Unholy DKs. Obviously, they don't have as much utility as Rep Paladin does. And then showing more, they can add more to it, though. So the Paladin just had a ton on theirs for some reason, and the Unholy DK did not. So they can add more to it. Debuff tracking. For me, so for some people, they wanted to add more. For me, I wanted to remove. Another piece of feedback we've received is that players want the ability to track their damage over time effects and other important debuffs on their target with a cooldown manager. We plan to let players opt into tracking their offensive dots in either a new frame or as part of the existing cooldown manager frame. Like the advanced cooldown manager settings, we plan to populate the setting with all potential abilities so players can pick and choose what they want to track. For me as a Rep Paladin, this actually be really handy with Xpurg. Now it's really hard to lose your Xpurg dot on your target, but it would be nice, maybe you're just really riling through some procs or something like that and you need to refresh your Xpurg, that could be useful. Debuffs will have different states indicating whether they are applied, missing, or about to expire, or in the pandemic window, or if they're on cooldown entirely. While the debuff from a spell is on your current target, the remaining duration of that debuff will be shown on that spell. So that's cool. Big defensive tracking. From some players, mostly tank classes, we've heard that they want the ability to see if another player has used external abilities or buffs with a duration on them, such as Pain Sup or Life Cocoon. To support this, we're adding an additional optional frame that can track the use of these external enhancements when they're active on your character. So this looks really nice and is very cool. Big defensive tracking. Sound. So this is the big thing for me. So if you don't, like I already mentioned at the beginning of the video, I don't use a lot of add-ons. When I use bigwigs and DBM for raid or whatever, I'm basically listening for like little cues. And just like, to be fair, in the raid, they sometimes put voice lines with the boss and you can hear stuff in the boss room that gives you cues as well. And I've used those before. But I love little sound cues. For whatever reason, my brain puts a sound with a action very, very well, very, very easily. And I could probably almost do something with my eyes closed as long as I had the sounds going off for myself there. So this is really cool for me. This is huge. To alert players better when an ability or buff becomes available or is active, we're adding the ability to configure sound notifications on abilities on a case-by-case basis. If you like an audio notification tied to one of your class abilities, you configure a specific ability in the unique alert. So again, let's talk about Blessing of Anshi, which is Herald of the Sun for Retribution Paladin. Just one little sound when that procs would be perfect. It's already fine, like the display of it's fine too, but a little sound with that would be perfect. You hear that sound, you press Hammer of Wrath, and it's just so simple. This is one of the biggest things I wanted. I mentioned sound alert, like almost everything that I said I wanted is being done here. So I'm hoping that everyone else's concerns are being addressed as well, because this now becomes usable for me in a very big way. You know, I'm pretty much still basically using nothing because I don't use an add-on for it either. But so this is going to be huge because it's going to be actually usable for me and actually be able to maybe make it look a little bit nicer as well. In addition to the above, we're also looking at some quality of life updates for the cooldown manager as associated frames. We're exploring other potential updates. Again, I just said make it look nicer. Resizing and repositioning elements with greater flexibility. Saving different cooldown manager configuration profiles when we swap between different types of content. In addition to the above, we're also taking steps to make various portions of the cooldown manager UI more accessible and discoverable in the options menu. Looking ahead, as we look forward to introducing these improvements and future updates, we remain committed to refining and expanding these features based on your feedback. We look forward to supporting the wider community and their needs as we continually iterate on the cooldown manager. You can check the cooldown manager in its current iteration on live realms by opening the game menu escape and go to option settings and checking cooldown manager box. So this is huge for me. This is going to be so much better for me. Being able to put a sound with any little thing that I want. The Blessing of Anshi comes to my mind, but literally anything. It can help you with anything when it procs or anything when it's ready, because you can, based on what it said, you can put it with any of your abilities, track any ability. So this could be really big, in theory at least, right? Hopefully, you know, it's a work in progress, right? All of you watching this who already have your add-ons perfectly culminated to your needs, obviously it's probably not going to live up to where you would want it to be, even with these changes. But hopefully we get there, man, because I just am. It's not just World of Warcraft in games. I don't like using add-ons. I like to just play the game for what it is. And if I have to use too many add-ons, it takes a lot of the fun out of it for me. And so I've been able to play World of Warcraft my whole career, basically. Not a career, but whatever you'd want to call it. When it's so long, it feels like a career, right? But play World of Warcraft this whole time without using barely any add-ons. I used DBM, I used bigwigs because my guild switched to bigwigs, and like I don't use PvP add-ons. I barely PvP anymore. I basically stopped PvPing when add-ons became so prevalent in it. Again, because if I can't have fun, then I just don't do it. So yeah, this is huge for me. Being able to put a sound cue on is huge for me. And I am very excited about this. Is it going to drastically change my life? Is it going to increase my DPS by a large number? No, because I'm already doing pretty good DPS. So it would be very hard for me to increase my DPS by a large number. But it is quality of life, and it is nice. And as I get older, and as all of us get older, I guess everybody gets older, you know, having some quality of life things helps you as you get older. Having a little sound cue helps you as you get older. So I'm very, very pumped for this and excited to see that they're iterating on it, that they're going to continually iterate on it, and that they're fairly rapidly iterating on it. These changes are so putting it into the game was a big deal, even if it was crappy. these changes are a huge quality of life upgrade. We could probably expect the next one to be closer to an add-on level of cooldown manager and stuff like that. And this one might be close already. So we'll see. I'm super positive about it. And just keep giving feedback, I guess, because I know my feedback was apparently heard, and other people probably had the same feedback as me, and so that's what we got. So let's just keep giving feedback and see if they keep making it better. So that'll be it for this one, guys. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, I encourage you to check out the Patreon. Other than that, everybody, have a good one.